Hey guys, how's it going once again? It's your boy Lavelle Miller back here with a request of one of my friends. He actually had a great idea. As you see, I got my glasses and things on because I was getting ready to go to sleep. And he was talking about me doing a selection in regards of DraftKings picks for the upcoming fights and possibly in the future, giving a couple selections for you guys. And I thought, you know what, that is a good idea. So I decided I'd give my hand at it. Sorry about if you get a lot of glare that's coming in my glasses. So we all want to win a few bucks here and there if we can. If you guys aren't used to DraftKings, you just go online, you know, on the computer, on an app on your phone, like download it, choose however much money you want to spend, pick a team or players depending on whatever sport you're doing, and you pretty much bet on the player and you hope with their abilities that they can get you the desired amount of points for you to win something. So in MMA, with the you have 10 people you can select. Actually, no, no, sorry, not 10. It's five. You have 5 people you can select. Sorry, I had to adjust the camera there. And you start off with $50,000, and each player, depending on their abilities, have a certain amount of money that they are worth. To go over the rules really fast, or the scoring actually, each significant strike is half a point. Advance 3, takedowns 5, reversal sweeps 5, knockdowns is 10. You want somebody to finish somebody earlier because first rounds are 90 points, second round 70, uh, third round's 45, fourth and fifth are 40, decision is 30. So as you see, the longer the fight takes to finish, the less amount of points you get. So you want to get these job done as soon as possible. So let's see here. And lineups also, actually, let's say here consist of 6 fighters. So we're going to do UFC 228. Like I said, it's $50,000 salary. You get 6 fighters. So the things you look for, like I said, the earlier you finish the fight, the more money that you win. So you want someone who will finish the fight early and that doesn't cost you too much. That way you can get as many fighters who can finish someone in the first round as possible. And also, just because a fighter has a higher win percentage, that does not mean it translates to points very well. So, like if you were looking at the DraftKings board right now, someone like Darren Till is undefeated. He averages 69 uh, fantasy points per fight. That's not very good at all. And mainly because he goes to decision a lot since he's been in the UFC. So, someone like him, you may want to try to stay away from. But we'll get to him later. So, people for, let's go with sure things right away. A sure bet that I would pick. Now, mind you, sure bets are going to cost you more, so you're going to have to adjust who you pick afterwards. And I'm not going to try to give you guys a full lineup here because I might end up giving you my lineup and we might be fighting for the same amount of money. But, so, a sure pick that I will pick is Zabit Magomed Sharipov. So, Zabit Magomed Sharipov is averaging 124 fantasy points, but he is $9,400. He has finished every fight besides his last fight he did when he was in the UFC, but he still put up over 100 points in that contest. So he is definitely a person you want to get because even in a third round contest, he still scored over 100 points because of his strikes and his takedowns, everything he mixes up as well as he advances. All those are important when you're looking at adding a fighter. It's everything they can do, not just one thing. Because if you get a guy who is known for knockouts, but they don't have anything else at the table, then when they get in a fight with a guy, they're just standing and trading. You'll be looking at a fighter who ends up getting you around that 60 something point range, like I said about Till earlier. So Zabit Magomedsharipov is a sure pick I would definitely get. Also, another person that I would say is possibly a sure pick, and that's because their opponent has a lot of durability, and it's Jessica Andrade versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Jessica Andrade, her last two opponents, Tisha Torres and Carla Esparza, she put up over 100 points fighting both of those women, and right now she's averaging 92 and a half fantasy points. So she's has not got finished in a long time in the UFC, and since she's dropped down to 115, she hasn't been finished at all in the UFC. She's put it on women from pillar to post the entire time she's fighting. She's another person I would consider as a sure pick, but she's $9,100. So once again, there's a cost, like I said, that is coming with these sure picks. As we slide down here, and filter this so that way my picks look a little bit better. If you haven't, this is still important to throw out there as well, because a lot of people make their picks so much early and they haven't changed it. Throw this out there again because it's still up there on DraftKings, because DraftKings is not going to change it because they love people who don't do it. Valentina Shevchenko is not fighting. She was the biggest favorite on the card. She is not fighting. She would have been another sure pick if she was, but she's not. Don't do it. Another person, I can honestly say, sure pick wise, that's pretty much it. Now, after you got your two sure picks, now these are the people that you're going to fill the rest of your lineup with. And now, mind you, it depends on who you're going to use, how you're going to use them. So, and then I get at the very end, I'll get the people to stay away from. So, if I look at a person like a Alex White is fighting Jim Miller. He would be a good person to pick. Now, mind you, he's only averages 62 fantasy points. He's $8,600, but he's fighting Jim Miller. Jim Miller has lost his last 5 contests, and he has been finished in all 5 of those losses, if I do remember correctly, and at least 3 of them have been in the first round. So the probability of Alex White getting a first round finish with him having somewhat of a lower cost is pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. He would definitely be a person that I would pick. Then also a person that I would pick, and this is, I would say, my steal of, well, actually, yeah, the Heat would be my steal. My steal of this week would be Nico Price. Is fighting Abdul Razak Alassane. He is $7,900. He averages 84.7 fantasy points. He has only went to the second round since he's been in the UFC. He has finished all of his opponents since he's been in the UFC. Against the person he's going against, he's, and this is where it might sound crazy to a lot of you guys, is fighting a guy that is only been in the first round while he's been in the UFC. He's averaging 94.4 fantasy points, and he's 8,300. The reason why I think Nico is a better deal at that 79 is because Nico has actually submitted his opponents while he's been in the UFC and also knocked them out. Alassane has only knocked out all of his opponents in the first round. So he only has shown he has had one aspect to be able to beat people. Nico has knocked people out and submitted them in the second round since he's been in the UFC. So if I was going to pick one of those two fighters, I would pick Nico. I believe that's going to be a great fight. That's the first fight of the pay-per-view. But that's where I would lean to is Nico because I know Nico has submissions because he's able to take guys down and he can knock guys out on the feet. So that's where I would go with him. And he is probably definitely one of the steals. And him being at that $7,900 value, he'll be a person that you will want to add later. And remember, like I said, with these, when it comes to these picks, you're looking for people who can finish and finish early. You don't want guys going to, you don't care who wins. Well, you want your guys to win, but and realistically, you're looking for people that you believe are going to finish early. You don't want to worry about anybody who's not going to finish early, except for a couple fights I'll get to. Well, actually, one fight that I'll get to. So, so you have him. This person might be a sleeper, and that's Diego Sanchez versus Chris White. I believe that is his name. Yeah, Craig White. And that's because Craig White has only had one fight in the UFC. He lost by knockout. But if you go through his history, which is kind of important when you look at a lot of these fighters, don't just go on what you see on on DraftKings. Look these fighters up on ShareDog, their Wikipedia pages, Tapology. Do all that is really important. Craig White does not have knockout power. He's a huge favorite going against Diego Sanchez because Diego Sanchez has had a glass chin as of late. And let's see here. Speaking about, but going back to the pricing, Diego Sanchez is at a $7,400 value, and Craig White is at a $8,800 value. So they're believing Craig White will get it done. Craig White hasn't had a clear knockout in a very long time in his career. He has a couple submission victories, but Diego Sanchez is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, so he's not going to be easily submitted. And actually, I do not believe he's been submitted in his UFC career. So I don't believe Craig White will get that done. And if he doesn't possess this big knockout power, I don't believe he'll be able to knock Diego out as well. So if he goes to war with Diego, if Diego has some changes or has done the right things that he's needed to do, I think Diego will be able to get this done. And Diego may end up being the biggest steal, but he's a sleeper because, mind you, like I said, Diego is coming off a lot of big knockouts. He may be in your DraftKings that you may want to spend 25 cents, $1, $5 in or something on. Maybe not a big one or multiple line of one is probably better. But I don't think I would put him as one of my soul keepers. But he may be a sleeper if you're looking to load your roster heavy and then you're trying to find some fillers in the end. He may be able to help you out there. So I gave you some of them gems. So since I gave you some of them gems, and I want to tell you fights to avoid and these other fighters that you might want to get. But if you get these fighters, if you get this other fighter, you need to get them in pairs. A fighter to avoid is Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana Suarez fighting Carla Esparza. Tatiana Suarez is averaging 116.8 fantasy points. She's at $9,200. And Carla Esparza is like she's a big dog. She's at 7,000. Now, why is that? Well, a lot of you, if you don't watch a lot of MMA or if you check it out sparingly, Tatiana Suarez has been wrecking the women's division since she has entered the UFC strawweight division. She's been out wrestling all these girls, outclassing them. And she's doing the thing that Carla Esparza did when she went on Tough, and she did the same thing to all the girls. And now Carla Esparza is doing a lot of stuff with her hands. They both wrestled at the world level. So this would be a very interesting wrestling match, a very interesting grappling match. This match will not produce points. You would be best to avoid both of them. However, if you had to pick one, once again, you might lean on Tatiana to win the fight. She is the bigger fighter. Carla is so much cheaper. If you get her at 7,000, that means you can load heavier, and she may get you. She's averaging 67. She may get you 30 or 40 points, or she's actually 61. She may get you 30, 40, 50 points, and that may be enough to put you over the hump if you have some of these other fighters that are giving you a whole lot of points back. But I don't believe that'll happen. I believe that will be a complete wrestling match. Not a lot of points there. I would avoid those fighters. I would avoid, let's see here, Aljamain Sterling versus Cody Stamann. This is another fight I believe will go to decision. Cody Stamann is averaging 105 points for a fight because he's been able to take everybody down and ground and pound them out, do whatever he wants. Aljamain Sterling has been averaging 66.9 points. He's at 8,500. Once again, if you're looking at the value of this, I believe Aljamain Sterling will win this fight because Aljamain will, you know, regardless, stick and move, all that other stuff. But this fight, if it's contested in a grappling space, mind you, we're not looking for just wins, we're looking for finishes. I would avoid these two fighters as well. And then, like I said, if you are going to pick one of these two fighters, I would pick the cheaper option. That way I could load up heavier with another fighter. I'm at the top. Another fight to avoid, John Dodson versus Jimmy Rivera. Another fight I do believe will go the exact same way. Both these fighters will end up sitting there exchanging with each other in intermediate spaces, a little bit of grappling, a little bit of this and that. But I believe that John Dodson, how he likes to stay on the outside, blitz in. Jim Rivera will stand outside, or he'll try to close distance or whatever. They're not going to give you the points that they want. And if you look at it, John Dodson averages 74.9. Jimmy Rivera averages 67.5. Both of these they're at bantamweight. They're both decision fighters. That's their style. You're not going to get points there. And then Jimmy Rivera is coming off a knockout. That's another big thing. He was cautious before. He's going to be really cautious now. I would avoid that fight as well. Now, the fight that I have been delaying getting to, but let's go ahead and circle the wagons and get to it because it's important. And you might want to get both these fighters because they are the same amount. And that's Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till. And you would ask, why would you want both those fighters? I believe this fight will go all 5 rounds. What does that mean? If the fight goes all 5 rounds, that means there will be a lot of significant strikes thrown. A lot of significant strikes thrown means a lot of points. Tyron Woodley means a lot of takedowns. Means a lot of, at least that he can try and then he'll probably get a lot of advances, a lot of sweeps if Darren Till gets up. So you have takedown, sweeps, and advantages. You have points from both people. And if you watch and you look at a lot of the guys who score high in DraftKings, typically they end up having a match between two people together because of their fighting style is guaranteed action and guaranteed points. There could be a knockdown in this fight. If you had Tyron Woodley and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in their first fight together, you guaranteed you racked up points because of both of them, how their styles went. So they're both 8,100. They both, you know, they do have the ability to finish. Darren Till has not finished anybody. Well, he did finish. I'm sorry, he did finish Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He was only finishing the UFC, but Tyron Woodley hasn't finished anybody since he fought Robbie Lawler for the title. I don't think that neither one of these guys will get a finish here. At the $8,100 value, I do believe this fight will go all 5 rounds, and because of that, they're going all 5 rounds. I do believe that they will average somewhere within the 80s, respectively, without counting the win. So that would mean that, let's say, if one's at, if Till gets his average of 69 and Woodley gets his, a little bit above average, he gets 80 plus 40 for his win. I mean, his 30 for his win. He's at 110 and he's in, the 5th round. So now you get all those points at the very end of the fight, or at the very end, which is you may end up needing. So I would definitely check that out as well as a viable option. But that's just something that throw that out there to you guys. I check all of those out. There's a couple other fighters in there that there's not enough known about them. There's a lot of variables. I wouldn't really go feel too strongly to pick any of them. But just a quick recap. My definitely my guarantees that, or my strong picks rather, are Zabit Magomed versus Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis is a short-term replacement. Got finished his last time out. Zabit just done his thing. Even going into a 3-round fight, he still has got average over 100 points. I'd pick Zabit. Jessica Andrade in 3-round fights. Her last 2, she's averaged over 100 points. Definitely pick her. Like I said, possible the best pick for the value is probably Nico Price. A sleeper pick is possibly, like I said, Diego Sanchez. I stay away from the John Dodson, Jimmy Rivera fight. I would stay away from Aljamain Sterling versus Cody Stamen. Wrestling match, Tatiana Suarez versus Cara Esparza. And then actually here, I didn't even sit there and think about this. Jeff Neal versus Frank Camacho. This fight is going to be an action-packed fight based off of how these fighters fight. This kind of goes back to how I said with the remedy with Woodley and Till. However, this is a 3-round fight. So Camacho and Neal might put it on each other, but mind you, they only have 3 rounds to do it. So unless there's knockdowns on both sides, or they're just standing there, they're not blocking, and they're just slugging it out the whole time, you got to look at all the value that they bring to the table. Frank Camacho has takedowns, but he doesn't do it a lot. If you start a war with him, he is gladly willing to oblige you. I would definitely avoid Jim Miller. I would, like I told you, make sure that you don't get Valentina Shevchenko. I would, let's see here. Yeah, I think that's about it. That wraps it up. I do believe. So yeah, thank you for everybody who took the time to check out this video. I should be doing another one next week. That one will be a little bit easier to do per se, probably a little bit harder because there'll be a lot of heavyweights on that card. So the points will be either very high or very low. So there'll be a little bit more analysis on that pick, on those picks, on how to pick the people based off of what they can offer besides the first round knockout power. Because a lot of them, just a quick review on that, there's really great matchmaking there. So there won't be a lot of knockouts. There'll be a lot of decisions, which people hate for heavyweights, but there won't be a lot of knockouts there. So thank you for checking this video out. If you guys win any big money, you know, you can hit me up on PayPal. Hit that like, subscribe, and share below. Always appreciate that. This is how you become legendary and greatness is earned.